Kratz and AJ south of our location. How is that, AJ?
That's a better answer than what you said yesterday.
Thanks. I'm working on my grammar and my education with you guys. All right, before we charge the mound, the Stanley Cup playoffs came to a close. So the Florida Panthers are champions. But that's not what we really do here. What I want to point out is that during the Game 7, biggest game of the year, very successful season in the NHL, there was a trade of major goaltenders with Boston and Ottawa making a swap during the game. So our friend Mike Petriello put out a tweet, and he's a big hockey fan. He goes, "It's the first inning of Game 7 of the World Series. Game tied 1-1 between Seattle and Miami. The Red Sox have traded Tanner Houck to the Blue Jays for Jose Barrios." That's the equivalent here. What are we doing? You couldn't wait 5 freaking minutes?
I feel bad for – that's amazing. I feel bad for Ottawa, though. They only got the goalie. They had to give up a forward, a goalie, and a draft pick. So what does it say about that one goalie? I mean, is he just, like, not good? I don't follow hockey that much, so I can't really divulge into it. But to get one guy and you have to give up 3 different things, I don't think Ottawa won that one.
Well said. AJ, the best way to hide something PR-wise is to throw out a release or get a deal done during Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. But the point is, I wanted to highlight how MLB does a good job of this. They essentially tell teams, don't do anything until the World Series is done. And if you have to do anything, like, say, announce a coaching change or something like that, do it on an off day. And they do it right there.
They do. And listen, I mean, I saw there was trades happening all over the place in hockey while the finals are going on. MLB shuts that all down. But, hey, congratulations to the Florida Panthers. I don't know if you guys saw the videos today, but the Stanley Cup went for a swim at the beach down on South Beach today. So way to go, Florida Panthers.
That's true. Absolutely. That's true. All right, let's charge the damn mound.
Charging the mound.
Are the Toronto Blue Jays okay? Former Blue Jay Erik Kratz, you can start things off here. Just a brutal loss for them. Caitlin McGrath, who writes for The Athletic, had a great quote in her article today, or a great line. She said, "In true 2024 Blue Jays fashion, the bottom of the 8th inning was like watching a car fall off a cliff and hit every single ridge on the way down, inflicting more and more damage until it finally, mercifully, plunges into a river." Jarren Duran with the walk-off knock for a surprisingly good Red Sox team. We're going to talk to Duran in about 10 minutes. So let's just focus on the Blue Jays and the car crash and what most of our fans would probably want to know. Is this team done? If so, they have a lot of pieces that they can sell at the trade deadline. Are the Blue Jays about to be the talk of the town for the next few weeks?
Yes, they are. And I agree with everything that Caitlin said, except it did plunge into the water, and now the car is taking on water, and it's just their head is just above the water right now because there's still a lot of season to be played, and there's a lot of misery to happen. This didn't just kill them. It's like a slow death now. But they have some really, really big decisions coming up. Everyone looks at, is it Kikuchi that'll get traded? Is it Yimi Garcia? But do they have to blow this up? Do they extend one Bo Bichette or Vlad Guerrero and trade the other? Do they think, okay, well, next year we're going to win? Because if they don't think next year they're going to win, now all of a sudden they have 2 absolutely monster trade pieces in Gausman or Bassett. If they think they're going to win next year, then they don't have those monster trade pieces. If they do, this could get really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but if you look at the standings, I mean, bottom line is 7.5 is really not that much, but the way they've been playing, I mean, oh God, it's a tough decision, but you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this team really going to have a fighting chance to get into the playoffs as they move forward? I don't think so. I think the AL East is too tough, but outside chance maybe, but I do think this will be one of those teams where you're like, all right, once one piece falls, we'll see how it goes the rest of the way.
AJ, did you think Kratz was going a different direction when he said they have 2 monster trade pieces?
Yeah, I thought he was going to say Vlad and Bo Bichette.
But
Yeah.
they got a lot of trade pieces. Listen, you could throw Romano in the back end there. Their bullpen, their starters, all their starters should be on the table no matter what their contract situation. And why not trade Bichette and Vladdy now? If you're not going to resign him, you can get more if you get a year plus of control on him. Why not make these moves? I don't know what they're going to do. This is a team that we all looked at and said, man, this team should be competing for division championships. And they just have never taken that next step. Now, whether that's on front office, manager, coaches, players, I don't know. But there's something missing in Toronto, and nobody can figure out what it is. Because if you look at it piece by piece, what they have, they should be really good. You go through their starters, you go through their bullpen, you go through their lineup piece by piece and put it up against other teams. You're like, man, they should be really good. And the problem is you see flashes, right? You see Vlad Guerrero hit that ball 500 feet last night, but then he'll go 2 weeks without hitting a home run. You're like, wait, where'd the power go? Right? So, Bo Bichette's obviously injured right now, so you can't really count on him. Alejandro Kirk was an all-star. He's hitting under 200 or right around 200. It's like, what happened? George Springer hasn't done things. It's like, what happened when they got all these pieces together and they don't work? Why?
They have potentially 10 trade pieces that I'm counting. I'll list them in a second. But AJ's right. I mean, this team on paper has looked good for a while, right? It's been years. They have made the playoffs. They just haven't done much damage in the playoffs. And they've had a really nice starting rotation to go with a lineup that should be better. Last year, it was a very mediocre lineup. They really took a step back, especially in terms of slug. Matt Chapman leaves. Justin Turner gets added. But they didn't really make themselves much better in the offseason. They went for Ohtani. This team probably looks totally different if they have Ohtani in the lineup, but they don't. They didn't try to do anything else. They're not keeping up with the rest of the competition right now in the division, like you said. So with that being said, 7.5 games away from a playoff spot, forget the division. That's a lot. And there are a lot of teams in front of them, and there are a lot of teams that look like they're in a better spot. Anybody's kind of one run away from doing something, but it's getting harder to see it, especially with the Red Sox being better than we expected. These are games that you looked at the start of the year, like they should win more of these games than they're putting together. Boston's not a pushover. They're turning into a wild card contender.
Yeah, and it just seems like whoever they're playing, it's a dogfight. And I feel like when you're playing like that in the season and this far into the season, it gets tougher and tougher. And the teams you're supposed to beat, you're not beating. It's frustrating, and that wears on a team. And I think at the end of the day, this team is not going to be in the playoffs, and this team needs to figure out a way to either move on with what they got or start building around a couple guys. And right now, I don't see it.
So if you do kind of throw up the white flag and start trading players away, then you're essentially indicating that what you did failed. They've had a front office in place for quite a while now. Mark Shapiro and really Ross Atkins, I think, making most of the decisions there. Erik Kratz, are they in a tough spot because if they do throw in the towel and kind of start trading away pieces, it indicates that they need to build back up for a few years, and you're looking at the last 5 to 7 year run and saying this failed? So it's like a little bit of a battle, right? You'd be admitting that it didn't work, and ownership might say, yeah, we want someone else to build this back up for next time.
100%. They might still have their job at the trade deadline, but they're going to be the ones that have to make these trades. And to me, that's an ownership decision, because I don't know many GMs that'll sit there and go, you know what? I failed. I'm going to fix this for the next guy. It's more of ownership saying, look, you have to trade these guys. We have to rebuild. You're not coming back.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, AJ, I've got Kikuchi, Yimi Garcia, Bo, Vladdy. I know you mentioned Romano too when he comes back. Bassett, Turner, Kiermaier, even IKF. I mean, these guys are either free agents after this year or after next year for, I think, just about every name that I said. Those are a lot of trade assets for a trade market right now that kind of looks dead. Like, it's hard to come up with a lot of legit names. I mean, they could really remake their franchise in terms of the next great core of Toronto Blue Jays players in one trade deadline. I really feel that way. If they went all in and kind of pushed chips and said, I mean, all in as in we're trading everybody that's got value right now if we get the price that we want.
Yeah, but they won't do that, because why didn't they go all in? They went for Shohei. Why didn't they, if they had money for Shohei, why didn't they spend money on something else and go out and get some other players? That doesn't make sense to me. So they're not going to do it because they don't want to do the great rebuild. They already kind of went through it, and their next step was Vlad, Bo, Biggio, right? All these guys, they went out and get Gausman, they get Bassett, they trade for Barrios. So they're thinking they go get George Springer. They're thinking, all right, here's our next in line, our next window, as they call it, to win. And it hadn't happened. So do they really want to go through that again? I mean, Blue Jays fans still come out to games. They still pack the house because of the names they have. So I don't think they'll do it, because I think at the end of the day, they don't want to lose the fan base they have, and they don't want to go to them and say, all right, guys, it didn't work, because then it looks bad on everyone, and then you have to basically start over. And I don't think they want to do that.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, they're in a bad spot, 35-43. This is not looking like a playoff team. So on the other end, the Red Sox win. They have the reverse record, right? 43-35. Jarren Duran with the big walk-off knock, and Boston's playing inspiring baseball. We're going to talk to Duran when we swing back on FT, on Valley Sports, and on YouTube. Game preview time. We got a few minutes to look at where we'd want to get a ticket for today. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They've got you covered for your baseball ticket needs. Over 28 million downloads on the app. It's the #1 rated ticketing app. And they've got your tickets for concerts, festivals, and more besides games. But we're focusing on games, okay? Let's look at the schedule. I feel like Kratz kind of got shorted yesterday, so you get to pick first here, Kratz. You're going into the SeatGeek app. You got your $20 off. Where are you going?
Don't pick mine either.
Easy. Tarek Skubal versus Ranger Suarez. Come on. Todd, you got to go pick another one. I mean, there is no better pitching matchup right now. Not that it's a great game matchup, but I think when you have Tarek Skubal on the mound, you always have an opportunity to see, a 1-0 game, a 2-1 game. He hasn't pitched well his last 2 outings, but this is a dude that figures a way to bounce back.
You've got a layup for yours.
Yeah, I got a layup. I don't care who's pitching. You're going to the Subway Series, boys. You're going to go watch the Mets and Yankees play. You're going to see all the different types of, Met blue and Yankee dark blue, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
But don't bury the lead here.
What?
You know who's pitching for the Yanks?
Garrett Cole's pitching.
Yeah, and we get to see start #2 here, and they only let him go like baby amount of innings last time. So they're going to let him actually rip.
62 pitches last time. Are they going to let him go 75, 80? I'm not 100% sure. But I think inch by inch in games like this, I think they give him a little bit – they take that leash off just a little bit more and more. And Peterson's starting for the Mets. So they haven't hit lefties well, the Yankees, so in recent weeks here. So we'll see how it bodes for both sides. But it's always a fantastic game and a series, and all the smack talking goes on here in the tri-state area. So it's good times here in the Northeast.
I'll pick one. I want to see Mackenzie Gore go up against the Padres, the team that drafted him. Gore's actually been great, so I'll throw that out there. All right, every ticket's backed by SeatGeek's Buyer Guarantee. It's the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event. It's called Swaps if you want to do that. So go check out the app. Go download the app with our link, and then you can use the code FOUL, FOUL, for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. We've had a nice little 1-month run with them so far here. It's $20 off your first purchase with promo code FOUL. And you can sign up with that code. Even if you're not getting tickets for a game tonight, you can do the whole deal. Download the app, put in the code so that it's there for you. If you need to get quick tickets, you can do that with $20 off when you use the promo code FOUL. We're getting ready for Jarren Duran coming soon on FT. FT's back. It's Todd, Father, Kratz, AJ, and it is Scotty Braun here with Jarren Duran of the Boston Red Sox, coming off a pretty fun night. Jarren, great to have you on the show, and we picked perfect timing. We had this lined up for several days. We just kind of had a feeling you were going to be Mr. Walk-Off on Celtics night. So how was it?
It was an unbelievable experience, honestly. It was my first one, so it was surreal, but, especially having the Celtics stick it out the whole time, that was super cool.
Well, it's good to see you, bro. Last time I saw you, man, we were up in Port St. Lucie dominating the competition, man. Talk
Absolutely.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that experience with Team USA, and hopefully some guys helped you along the way as we worked through that whole process.
Man, I can't even imagine. Those days were so fun, especially having you and Matt Kemp there. Like, those are some awesome moments. Like, it was kind of surreal to have you guys there with us, especially when you made Matt Kemp jump on the table in the locker room because he said he had no hops. He almost fell over trying to get on the table. But honestly, even though we were playing in Florida, I felt like we were on the road. I mean, those fans travel so well, but like all that shit talking that we were able to do against those teams, and they were chirping us. Like, those are some moments I'm never gonna forget.
Jarren, speaking of moments you're never going to forget, is that the best game of your big league career last night? Is that like the one game you look back and say, damn, I kind of did it all? And then you had the walk-off, big comeback. Is that the best game you think you've played, or the most memorable game you've had as a big leaguer so far?
It's definitely up there for the walk-off. But I think the most memorable is probably when we played in Toronto last year. I think I was 5 for 5 with 4 doubles. So like having the 4 doubles in a game was pretty fun.
How about Cora last night saying that was the best atmosphere he's seen since 2021? Is that the best atmosphere you've seen? Because I know Fenway had energy when we were in COVID, and there was no fans in the stands. So what was that energy like last night?
So when we played the Yankees in the wild card, and Schwarber hit that homer off of Cole, I've never heard a stadium so loud. But I was also in the dugout. So playing on the field yesterday, that was probably the loudest I've been on the field playing when the fans were going crazy like that. So that was definitely one of the loudest I've been a part of.
Hey, let's get back to the Red Sox for a moment here. Did you expect to be at this point with the ball club? And I'll kind of put a little context towards this question. We all remember one of the leaders, one of the big boys, franchise players, Rafael Devers, before the season started, kind of voicing that he wasn't pleased with the way the offseason went down. And I know Rafi for years. He's not the biggest talker in the world. So when he does talk, everyone's like, oh, whoa, let's pay attention. So what did you think about what he said then and where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, as a big guy like him, like, he knows what the org what we need as a team. But I think that deep down, like, he knew that we were going to be able to be good because we know each other. Like, we knew everybody in the clubhouse. We knew how good we worked together. Like, we kind of figured our identity pretty quick of, like, how everybody goes about their work. Like, there wasn't a single guy in that locker room that wasn't working every single day to be better. And we all learned that pretty quick. And we're like, oh, like, we can definitely get the ball rolling here. I just think that was some early frustration because, like, he's an older guy. Like, he's a vet. He's expressed his feelings towards the front office, and he felt like maybe they didn't listen to him. So that's probably what he was coming from there.
2022, bud. You went through some struggles a little bit, and I know I've been through it before. I know everybody on this panel has been through it before in the baseball world. You wrote some stuff. You got some wrist tape without saying the word. F them. You got some stuff that you like to look at to remind yourself how good you are and that you're a beast, bro. And that mental side of it that not many people understand that, baseball players go through. Can you talk a little bit about, what you went through, how you got out of it, and, what you're doing today, because you're dominating today. And I think the mental part is a big part of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we all know how humbling this game could be. And I was just looking at every negative thing that somebody could say about me. I was telling myself how bad I was every single day, telling myself I don't deserve to be here, like, I don't belong here. And it just kind of took me in the offseason to, like, look in the mirror and be like, hey, man, like, do you want to be here anymore? Like, do you want to play baseball? Like, and I went down a pretty dark path, but, like, I came out on top and had some close people with me, and I told myself, like, I can do this, man. Like, I believe in myself enough where I can try and do this. So it obviously still to this day it's a grind. We have our ups and downs, but it's just going through it and just trying to like love yourself, man. Honestly, like that's still something I struggle with today is being proud of myself and telling myself that I'm worth being here. But it's been a struggle, but I'm coming out on top. I've figured out some things that I need to do. I got really good teammates, coaches, family, friends, like a bunch of people supporting me, so that's always a good thing.
I got to go back to one thing you said about Rafi. You said Rafi is one of the older guys here. You do realize that you're actually older than him, right? Like, if we're putting it in context, I just want to make sure you know when his birthday is.
Dude, I still surprises me every day. I look at that guy, I'm like, this fucking guy, man. He's been here and in the league for so long. He's fucking younger than me. Are you shitting me? But I mean, I swear, every time he does something like yesterday, he fell into the righty's batter's box and hit a homer. I was like, this guy was made in a fucking factory. This is unbelievable. Like, I say that every day to our coaching staff. I'm like, it's not fair, dude. This guy was made in a factory. Like, we can't do what he does.
I want to ask you about that swing that he took, where he fell into the other batter's box and hit it to the moon. Like, I don't even understand. Like, you're watching that live. I watched it on TV, and I was just like, it made my son. We were both watching it together. It made him go, "Oh, is there anything else that this guy like does that you're like, oh, like maybe we should talk about this?"
Yeah, I mean, I was on base, so I didn't see him fall into the righty's batter's box until I scored, and then everybody's like, "Bro, did you see Rafi's dismount? It was crazy." I'm like, "Well, he just do like his normal flip." And then I go in the cage, and they showed me on the iPad that he fell all the way in the righty's batter's box. Could have walked behind the umpire and then did his little carita bat flip. But I mean, that guy's just an absolute freak. Like, we'll be hitting balls in the cage, and I feel like I'm hitting it good, getting like 100 exit velo. He'll come in there, first swing of the day, wham, 114. I'm like, all right, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. There's guys like him out there doing this in the league. Like, this is just pissing me off.
Hey, before we move on, remember we got kids on the show. We got to be careful with the F-bombs. we're not at the bar, all right, big doggy?
This is why I texted you. Am I going to have to censor myself here?
My bad. I'll own up to that one. Give me another player on your team, Tristan Cassis. When we played together again in USA, give me a funny story about him, because this guy, he is an absolute clown. He doesn't care about much. He just goes out there and does whatever the heck he wants. Talk a little bit about him and just the way he just does his thing, man. What is up with that dude?
Dude, he's like the definition of like, he doesn't care what other people think. He's going to do his own thing because he knows what gets him better. Like, I mean, we saw from Team USA, but like how he always lays out in the sun. He's got to get his vitamin D in, get some sun in. And then he's always got his foodies. He loves to make his salads, his steaks. He loves to cook it up. And then in spring training, like this is like what really impresses me about him is like he hurt his ankle, I think it was last year or so, or a couple of years ago. And then in spring training, he had like this toe, like this little toe thing that wraps around his toes, and he like works on his ankle with it. It's like, it looks like one of those sticky hands that kids throw and stick.
Yes.
It looks like one of those, but it like goes through his toes, and he's like, yeah, so if I bend it this way, it works my ankle this way, and if I go this way, it works it this way, so I'm protecting it, making it stronger. And I'm just sitting there like amazed because he does so much research, but we have our own medical staff. But he's still so smart on his own program that he goes and does his own research on how to be stronger and better. And then like when he hurt his oblique, he goes, yeah, it was like a car accident happened inside me. And I was like,
you got to know him, bro.
like,
He's crazy.
Like, that's what they said. But, like, just the way, you know how he says stuff, like, it just made me laugh so hard. Like, I was like, I swear I'm not laughing at you, but just the way you say there's a car accident that happened inside, it just had to make me chuckle.
Jarren, I know you're not going to want to talk about this, but have you booked your tickets to Arlington yet for the All-Star game? Because there's no way that you should not be an All-Star with your numbers and what you've done and what you've meant to the Red Sox.
No, actually, I haven't. I mean, I always talk to my mom and dad about it, like, because they're gonna come if I make it, and we just kind of like, it's kind of like this positive thing we always tell to each other, like, oh, like they were in Cincinnati, and like when I said bye, I was like, oh, see you in Texas, like, not trying to be like cocky or anything, but just like being that positive mindset, which also comes with the mental health part of it, like just speaking positive to yourself, and especially to my parents who love me and would do anything for me, just speaking that like positive stuff into the world is like a big thing.
You are you're I saw your maturation and your like physical change when I was working for the Red Sox in the minor leagues for like a quick second when you were your first year up and down there. But then I saw pictures of your dad, and I have boys, and I'm like, everybody made a big deal about how big and jacked your dad is. I used to think, okay, like you're trying to catch up to your dad, but now I think you're actually pushing your dad based on how you look because he doesn't ever want to be passed by you. Is this true or false?
Yeah, I mean, some people start to tell him like, "Hey, Jarren's catching you," and he's like, "No, no, 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 I don't think so. No." He just, I mean, I don't want to admit it, and I know he's not going to admit it, but I feel like I'm catching him. But I feel like the real person in the house is my brother. That guy is built like an ox. That guy is. I can't work out with that guy. He's too strong for me.
Hey, I've got a question in the chat here. Comic Thing said, question for Durant. Can you ask him about the big three in Double-A, Roman Anthony, Meyer, and Teal? Have you gotten to spend time with those guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love those three guys. I remember whenever we'd go back up games with them, like they were just such a class act and just freak athletes, dude. Like the kids that are coming up, like and doing this out of high school and college are like absolute specimens. Like when I was in high school, I wasn't doing what Marcel Mayer was doing. Like that guy's an absolute stud. And Teal, well, you guys don't know, he is also a DJ, and I guess he had a DJ session in Florida. I didn't get to go to it because we had a game, but I guess he's a DJ. You guys might have to hit him up and ask him about that.
Oh,
Okay.
that's for me.
Okay.
That's good homework for me. I'm going to work on that with Teal. On it. I'm in that world. All right. I got a question for you now. Let's go a month later from where we are now. It's the trade deadline. Are you expecting the Red Sox to support the staff front office wise, and have the players been talking about that? Like, hey, this is a wild card contender. Regardless of what was thought about going into the season, we're in this thing. We would like some help, especially, if help is necessary. I know usually on a player, hey, we love what we've got, but, when you win the World Series, you usually added a piece or two. So do you expect that?
Honestly, I haven't heard a lot of chatter about it. Usually you like hear it now and then, like, oh, we should do this or we should do that. Like, honestly, like this year, I haven't heard any talks about it, like within guys or anything thinking about it. So, like, honestly, like we're just gonna keep the ball rolling. I mean, like if they're gonna make moves, like, hey, like the best thing that we could do as players is just be like, all right, here we go. Like we'll support whatever they do, and we're gonna roll with it. But I think we're good right now. We're moving as a team and we're playing really good together. But we can never like judge what they're gonna do or the moves they're gonna make. We can only just be the best that we can be, and whatever they add, we'll be happy with.
Hey, do you have a comp or somebody that you looked up to? I know when I was reading about you, Cora said, you're built like a Grady Sizemore. Pedroia used to use an Ellsbury comp. What do you like?
I mean, personally, I thought of Pedroia as like my biggest role model because I didn't grow till like my senior year of high school. Like I was like 5'4", 5'6", like played second base, like always had to work harder than everybody, and like obviously watching Pedroia play and learning his story and how he always has that dog in him about he's the best player on the field. Like I really took that to heart. Like, hey man, like I gotta be twice as hardworking as everybody. Like I can't let anybody outwork me. Like if they outwork me, what do I have against them? So like I always took that mentality, And like I still play like I'm the smallest guy in the field. Like I feel like I always got to work the hardest. I always got to play the hardest and just do everything above and beyond to catch up to everybody else.
I love that. And the respect level is sky high, obviously, from your peers, from these guys, from the fans right now. So keep doing your thing. Perfect timing to have you on after the walk-off. And just like you said, we'll see you in Texas because we'll all be there too. We'll see you in Texas for that All-Star game. Keep doing your thing. Thanks, Jarren.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Jarren Duran joining us right now on FT, and we'll be right back. All right, we got a quick little Erik Kratz demonstration to run during this little side session. So we've got Kratz going over transferring the baseball is what I'm seeing here. So let's let Kratz take it away. He put a lot into this one. Here we go.
Erik Kratz here, Foul Territory. We're going to talk about the transfer. Not actually throwing the ball, but the transfer from your mitt to your throwing hand to throw the ball. This is where a lot of time is wasted. When you're talking about getting the ball out of your mitt and into your throwing hand, you have to be able to make it quick to be able to get it down to second base. Not everybody has the best arm ever. And so we're not even going to talk about an arm here. All we're talking about is receiving the ball and getting it into your throwing hand as fast as possible. A few keys. You want to receive the ball as deep as possible because the ball is always going to go faster than you taking the ball back to your hand. So you want to let it get as deep as possible. So when you set up, you let it get as deep as possible and you make the transfer out front. Let's see if we can get one here. I reached out a little bit for that one. Let's see if we can get one more here. The transfer happens out front and you're ready to throw.
Oof. Solid.
Beauty.
yard was
Thanks to
looking nice.
Baseballism for that. It was real nice. The official lifestyle brand of baseball, baseballism.com if you want to go check out. We've got a bunch of their shirts on today. Me, Podfather, and AJ. Be right back. We're back. We had a tough 24 hours of injury news in Major League Baseball, so let us begin. Injuries suck. It's like you lost the video game.
Yes.
Let's start with Kershaw. Dodgers shut him down. Lingering soreness in the shoulder. MRI showed no issues. Not going to throw for a week, and then they'll start the progression again. Concern level there, AJ, for the Dodgers? I know you've talked a lot about their pitching, over the past really 6 months as everyone was gushing about them in the offseason. You're like, hold up. Do they have enough pitching to get through the season and then dominate October?
Geez, I mean, we were counting on Kershaw. I don't think we were counting on Kershaw, but we were expecting him to make a comeback. It just sucks for Clayton personally. I mean, he battled back. I know he made a start down in rehab, I think in the California League, and then all of a sudden he had soreness from that start. So, no new issues is good, but he's not going to throw again for weeks, and he's going to start all over. I mean, this is looking like August, maybe at the earliest, if not into late August, September. So we want to see Clayton come back and pitch, but man, this just sucks more for Clayton than it does for the Dodgers because they're doing just fine without him so far.
I mean, you think about it, you hate to say it, but is this like not the end, but the end of an era for how good he really was? Like, this guy was an absolute monster as a pitcher. And now to see it kind of going out kind of like this way, it's sad because he's a great dude. He's a competitor. He's a warrior. And now to have another problem here, it makes you worry. I hope it's something little. I would like to see him at least come out on top and go out and get, a few more starts. And, you see what Max Scherzer's doing. He's an older guy too as well. So it's like you want to see this guy. He's a good guy. So you want to see the good guys at least get another shot.
Yeah, he's not going to throw, 96, 97 anymore. But he was still pitching quite effectively at lower velocity. I mean, you look at the season totals that he puts together in a regular season. I know there's some bad moments like the playoffs last year, but we went over this, Kratz. I mean, even last season, 2023, he made 24 starts. That's not nothing. 131 and 2/3 innings. He had a 2.5 ERA at 2.46. That is wild, not wildly. That is incredibly effective quality innings that you're contributing to a ball club, even if it doesn't last for the entire season and the arm starts to wear down. So it's still something that's missing for them because whenever he's pitched in the regular season, he's been money for the most part. I think there was 1 year where he was in the 3.5 range, 2021. Yep. Otherwise, the numbers are incredible.
They are.
They're incredible. And people might not like ERA. They might, want to see velocity or more strikeouts, whatever it is. If you know a guy knows his body, because it's not like, oh, this all of a sudden just creeped up and this is the first time he's been hurting. He's had injuries. He's had things that have lingered, and he's told the team. So if he has soreness, he goes and gets imaging. You got to trust a guy that's going to put up a 2.5. And to me, he's going to put up a 2.5 ERA until he doesn't, because that's just what he's done. And so if he needs to shut himself down to get lingering soreness out, he knows what his body needs, and he's at the point in his career where you can trust that. And exactly what you said at the beginning, this team needs starting pitching. They don't have Yamamoto right now. Could he have pitched through what he had? I have no idea. They don't have Kershaw right now. Could he pitch through what he has right now? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like AJ said, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the division. They need everybody hitting on all cylinders to pair with Bobby Miller, who's coming back and he's going to be healthy, and Glasnow. And who's it going to be? Yamamoto, Kershaw, combination of Yamamoto, Kershaw, and Crochet? We don't know. But this is a World Series team, and they need to make decisions based on that.
Yeah, even Miller, who we saw return on Wednesday, go 6 1/3, 5 runs. It wasn't the same Bobby Miller that we saw, and was on a limited pitch count. I think it was on a little under 80 pitches. But, he's coming back from a shoulder issue too. That's the worst word for a pitcher these days. The elbow gets fixed, although often it's a long-term fix, but the shoulder is something that can linger and be a problem. And you can actually, the pitching part of the equation can really go down. The stuff can really go down for the shoulder. So let's get to the next one. Patrick Sandoval, Tommy John surgery. He's done probably until 2026 at this point. He had the flexor tear, the UCL tear, the whole deal. Sucks for the player personally, Kratz. And you have to go over this for the team. This could have been a guy who, at the trade deadline, brought them back some chips, right? I mean, he's got, I think, 2 or 3 years left of team control, but the Angels really need to build up more in their farm system to be a competitive ball club in the AL West, and this was the time to strike, like we talked about. It is going to probably be a down market, which means someone like this could have gotten you some pieces, because stuff-wise, it's been there for him for years.
Yeah, stuff-wise, and maybe a team that can unlock it. Not saying the Angels can or can't unlock it, but they haven't had success. I don't think they're his. I always look at team control based on trades like this, based on the current team's winning window, and he'll have over 4 years of service. He's going to be in his second year of arbitration after this season. he would have been a perfect candidate because I don't think the Angels are there in 2 years. If they are, hey, you know what? Maybe he unlocks the rest of it and really kind of gets those strikeout totals higher because his stuff is there, and he'll have glimpses of double-digit strikeout games. But it's tough. It's tough in an already depleted staff to have a guy like this go down.
Yeah, it's a tough loss. Want to move to Tatis. AJ, stress reaction, right leg.
Where did this come
on the
from?
short term.
Where did this
I
come
don't
from?
know.
He got hit like in the arm the other day and missed a game. And now Darvish isn't coming back either. The Padres, they just can't get out of their own way. This one, if you heard Tatis talk, though, he's like, we all know it's not going to be 10 days either. So I don't know where this came from. Like, he was running around, playing fine, doing everything, and all of a sudden, like, he has like a serious bone issue in his femur, I guess. I don't know. This one is a weird one to me. I never heard of such a thing, but he's going to be out a while, and this really hurts the Padres.
Yeah, I was looking up stress fracture and a stress reaction just a little bit ago. I don't know which one I'd rather have because this is weakening of the bone. So it could take, some people are saying anywhere from 4 weeks this thing could take. So it's overuse, repetitive motion on the bone, and you're running all the time in baseball. So what are the extent and how big this is? I mean, it could be astronomical for this guy or it could be something little, but still it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I've never had one before, but the more you repeat and run and put pressure on your legs and feet, this just can't be a good sign for him. And I hope for the best, for sure.
It's a huge loss, Kratz. I mean, I know his bat picked up a little bit. He wasn't totally thrilled with how his offensive production was. Although I will say I don't think we're ever going to get the player from a few years ago before he was popped for PEDs, right? He was a 42 home run guy in 2021. He's probably more of a 25 home run guy. He was like the best outfielder defensively in Major League Baseball last year, or at least one of the top few, right? And even this year, I mean, 135 OPS plus. That is significantly above average. That is an exceptional bat at the plate, 354 on base, and he was a 2-win player. So he was contributing dubs to this Padres team, and they're going to be a fringe playoff team if they do get in. So like AJ mentioned, the injury hits they're taking this year are tough because I actually think they're playing much better baseball this year. They're doing the small things much better this year. Looks like more of a team, but you got to have your stars on the field.
Got to have your stars. And stars that play defense like he played last year, to me, is going to be really, really tough to quantify. You can say, well, they lost all these defensive runs saved. You'll see it in pitching. You'll see it in plays late in the game. I mean, unless Jeremiah is in the game, who strikes out everybody. They don't need defense for that guy. But you sit there and you go, why are we losing some of these one-run games? Why are we winning some of these one-run games? Majority of the time, yes, it's luck, but there's also defense involved. There's also, look at the Blue Jays starting staff last year. They had Matt Chapman playing third base. You have a platinum glove winner in right field in San Diego. He's not playing right field in Philly. He's playing right field in San Diego. It is monstrous out there, and for him to be able to cover the ground that he did, it's going to be a tough loss. They're not just going to plug in one of their 9 other shortstops and play right field to that caliber. So they need him back super fast. Hopefully they can get him on that bone stim machine. I'm sure you guys use that.
What?
You guys remember that from playing? They always had that. They had this is supposed to stimulate bone regrowth. And I'm like, I don't think that's real.
If I don't feel any different, then I don't know if it's real.
The heck is that?
Placebo.
It was like
placebo. Nice.
Placebo. I don't know. Somebody's making a lot of money off of the placebo then because they always had that bone stim machine. Not stim. The stim was where it was like, make your muscle move. They had a different.
You would just hold it there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't feel a darn thing. You would just hold it in the spot.
And then you come out of that and go. Yeah, and you come out of that and go, yeah, that did nothing. Is that what you felt?
Yeah, and it had this red thing around you. Did you have to wear glasses so you didn't?
You had to wear glasses too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like right here they put. Like it was. I don't know. It was crazy.
Well, get well soon, Tatis. And the last thing I'll say is, the Padres had no outfielders for a while in the offseason, and it actually really came together for them for a while. You had Tatis, Profar, who's going to be in the All-Star game, and Jackson Merrill, who's overall been great and just seamlessly transitioned to the outfield. He's just got the instincts for it. He's been a good batter at the plate for them. So, the outfield has actually worked out pretty well for them. This really hurts, at least for now. All right, we'll swing back. We'll stay out west. We'll talk to Cal Raleigh, big dumper, about where the Mariners are at coming up.
Isn't Kratz the big dumper?
Yeah, that's true. We got 2 dumpers.
Where do we go from here? Our rotation is not as deep as I need it to be.
No, and there are some concerns. You mentioned the Buehler thing. There's zero idea about what to do with Buehler right now, outside of just give him a week or 2 blow and then kind of let him maybe mentally reset. By the way, the whole idea of the added weight, he had talked about this on some podcast he's a part of. He put on about 20 pounds, all things to help strengthen himself and hopefully keep the elbow intact for longer than his first Tommy John lasted. But he's not really an option to immediately plug back in. Another guy, we haven't really mentioned it, but Clayton Kershaw, he made his first rehab start last week. Felt some soreness afterwards, so they might actually push back the rehab process there. And that just, all of those add up to more concerns for the starting rotation. So yeah, if you're already down those 2 guys. You're down Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If you lose Glasnow, you're in a real world of hurt. Provided it's just for a month or whatever. I think they got to have him back for the postseason.
All of a sudden, Gavin Stone's your number 2. And again, he's pitched really well. I mean, James Paxton, no disrespect to him, he goes tonight, obviously, against the Chicago White Sox. But you're asking a lot from guys that don't have a shit ton of service time. You're asking a lot from guys that are young, that are still kind of making their way, that don't have the experience, that don't have that foundation to fall back on. And I don't like the fact that Jack Harris also tweeting that, as far as Roberts on what's next for Kersh, it's going to be talking to him, talking to the training staff, seeing if he feels good to make it. He'll have to play catch tomorrow. This, of course, would have been yesterday. If he feels good, great. If he doesn't, we'll just keep kicking it down the road until he's ready.
Yeah, and that's something you had already argued about too. Maybe they're trying to push him a little bit too soon, fine seeing him in later August or something like that. But, if we're talking about Stone really being your number 1 and then James Paxton, then Bobby Miller, and after that, Landon Knack? Yeah, that would be a problem.
If Glasnow goes down and Stone is your number 1, then I'm starting to warm up the right arm there, because that makes me nervous.
Hey, we're back on FT, and so is Cal Raleigh from the Seattle Mariners. It's Braun, Pierzynski, Todd Father, Kratz, and here is Cal. Cal, great to have you on, dude. Or I'm hoping. He looks very stoic right now. Is that a frozen Cal?
That'd be sick if he was playing us.
Yeah, dude.
Someone's going to do it at some point, but I was like, is that a frozen dumper? Yeah.
Never heard of those.
Big dumper coming back soon for Seattle. All right. Got that hotel Wi-Fi running. Actually, this will help to take us right into the segment. So, AJ, how do we get Cal Raleigh into the All-Star game? I guess, you carry 3 catchers for the most part, or you can, right? Is it usually 2 or 3, or it depends?
Just depends. Most of the time there's 3 now. There's a couple of times I went once and it was 2 and once it was 3. So it just depends.
Okay, because you know where I'm getting, right? So you've got Salvi, you've got Adley, then you got Cal. I think,
Cal gets dinged on his batting average. But Cal's very underrated defensively. He gets dinged on his batting average.
For
Yep.
sure.
But he hits big home runs. He gets big hits. His defense is very underrated. Watch him throw. He throws a lot better than people give him credit for. So, I think you look at the rest of the American League, who else really is there if they're going to go with three? I'm trying to come up with someone as I look at it. I guess Jeffers would be the other one.
Wong.
Jeffers and Wong.
All
It's tough sledding this year. Do I think he deserves to go? Absolutely.
Let's get analysis from the man himself. What do you think, Cal Raleigh, Seattle Mariners? How you doing, dude? Great to have you back on. And now he's moving, so he's not frozen. But what do you think? We're going over the All-Star conversation, and I know there's other things on your mind, but just to give us a minute on, if you think about that and if you agree with us, we'll get three in there. Salvi and Adley are having a pretty good year too, if you haven't heard.
Yeah, they're having great years themselves. So, there's a lot of guys, like you said, there's a lot of guys out there playing well, and honestly, most of that stuff's out of your control anyway, so can't really control that stuff. But yeah, it'd be great to go. Stuff like that is something that you kind of strive for on a personal level.
Hey, so last time I saw you in New York, you got a new glove, you got a couple new ones in, and they were just kind of the regular, win-in-the-mill gloves. Did you end up getting, that specialized glove with your name on it, or you're going with the pro stock right now, Rawlings?
Still breaking in the stock ones.
All right.
Yeah, I had to go up in a size in the glove. My hand kept getting worn out in one of my smaller mitts, so I had to go up in size, and still trying to break those things in, kind of give them to the bullpen catchers, and trying to quicken that process up. So
yeah, and I think what people need to understand too a little bit, like the things that go on during and before games, like bullpen catchers are phenomenal at breaking gloves in. Like they broke in my third base glove when I was playing. They would restring it. So instrumental part of baseball, those bullpen catchers and out there, they are huge in that part. So I want to go over why you got a new glove. Basically, you got a really good pitching staff here, man. You go from top to bottom. These guys are absolutely phenomenal. They get the strikeouts and they just go about their business. And I feel like kind of under the radar a little bit, I want to say, just because you guys maybe are out in the West. You guys are 5.5 games up. Talk a little bit about the pitching staff you have and, how nice it is to go out every day knowing you got a staff like that.
Yeah, our staff's unbelievable. I feel like they're kind of what makes us go as a team. So as they go, we go. They're kind of where it starts. So, our starters, they've been great all year. They get deep into games, always keep us in the games, fill the zone. I think that's the one thing is, they keep the defense engaged in the game, and they're constantly, pitching ahead in the counts. They're, getting ground balls, getting quick outs, punching people out. And, as a catcher, I can really appreciate that. And I know our defense does as well. So, but yeah, like you said, I know being on the West Coast, it's a little different. I'm an East Coast guy. I'm from North Carolina. Growing up, you just don't really hear about the West Coast as much. By the time you go to bed, they're playing, and you just don't get as much recognition. So I know if some people, don't know us too well, they might not know how good our pitching really is, and how well we're playing right now.
This is really all you've known in the big leagues is this pitching staff, and you've kind of led these guys and grown up with these guys. But is it easier or harder to have a really good pitching staff? Because I've had really bad pitching staffs, and I've caught, the Phillies in 11 to 12 and 13 where they had Hall of Famers and Cy Young Award winners, where if we lose and I'm catching those games, golly, Kratz, you suck. Do you feel like there's do you feel like it's like, whatever, I'll throw down whatever. Gilbert's just going to make up pitches and throw whatever he wants, and we're going to get everybody out? Or do you feel like there's more pressure, like, you better not screw this up because these guys are really good?
No, you can always look at it two different ways. I know me personally, I put a lot of stock into calling a game and making sure we're on the right page and, trying to get hitters out. But at the end of the day, our guys got really good stuff, and I know I'm personally going to mess up. It happens, multiple times throughout a week. So, it's just part of the game. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and as long as I'm, being prepared as I can, and doing my homework and being on the same page as these guys and, watching the game, watching hitters, making sure we make the right adjustments, then it's really all you can do. And then the rest is, up to the pitcher. They're the ones executing the pitches. And like I said, my job's back there to try to just lead them and try to, steer them in the right direction.
Cal, last night Brian Whoop started for you guys. How relieved were you that it wasn't his elbow again when he came out of the game? I know a hamstring stinks, but at least it wasn't his elbow. So were you guys a little bit relieved that one of your really good starters might be back? Hopefully, he might not be out long because it's not his elbow.
Yeah, first thing when I saw him grimace there on the mound, as a catcher, you guys know, you see somebody, they take a step back off the mound, they're making weird faces. So first thing you think worst case scenario, obviously elbows, shoulders. And when we went out there and when you said hamstring, it was kind of a sigh of relief. Obviously, don't know the extent of it yet, but like I said, it's always better when it's not an elbow, it's not a shoulder, something like that along those natures, because we know how scary that can be.
When Saucedo came in last night, did you even realize that a run scored? It happened so fast. Have you ever seen anything like that where the first ball he throws goes into right field and then the next one is a wild pitch? Is that something that you sit there and you go afterwards, how could I have helped him through that? Or how could I have helped him make this transition into a game he probably didn't think he was going to even be in?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be put in, coming in a game like that. You know how routine-oriented pitchers are, and, when you get your rhythm thrown out of whack like that and you get thrust into a game with in the middle of a count with the guy in first base, it's not easy. So, nothing, it's just one of those things too. He threw a ball away into the outfield and, he gripped a slider a little too tight, and it's just one of those things where it's all right, whatever, clear bases, tie ball game. Let's get through this inning, find a way to, kind of salvage it and get back up in the game. So,
Hey, Cal, we know this team's in a good spot right now in the division, but they don't want to be complacent. What are you expecting at the trade deadline? Are the guys kind of talking about how this could be the year that this team wins a World Series? I think there's no doubt, and we've had other Mariners on, you guys want to see more from the offense, and this pitching staff could easily run through October. Agree?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with pitching and defense. And, we have a great pitching staff. Our defense is really solid top to bottom. We have guys playing great out there. And, of course, you ask any team that's in the hunt at the deadline, they're going to want to add. They're going to want to, get more, whatever it may be, offense, bullpen help, starters, whatever it is. And, we feel like we put ourselves in a good position right now. Obviously, we don't want to be complacent. We got to keep going, and we know we have the good core on the team already. But adding some depth, adding something to the roster to help bolster is only going to help us, and it's going to help this team, get into October and make a run into the postseason.
Hey, Cal, as one of the leaders of this team, you've been on the squad for a minute, and actually we had Josh Rojas the other day who called you the team MVP. I'm sure you'd love to also be you know what? Julio's the team MVP. Last year, obviously, he came on really strong after struggling the first month and a half or so. Do you have a relationship with him, playing together for several years now, where you can kind of have a little one-on-one talk with him and kind of see where he's at? Because at times it felt, at least last year when you had the All-Star game out there too, he just had the weight of the world on his shoulders. So what are you seeing as a guy that's been around him for a while now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to know what it's like to live the life of, Julio. He's obviously, a super talent and super, superstar. He's a superstar. So, everybody goes through tough times, and, it's not going to last. Things are going to get better. It's making those adjustments, and the league, figures out ways to get you out, and they're going to hammer them home until you learn how to make an adjustment. So he's going through that, and he's still super young. I mean, I know what I was like when I was his age, and not that it's that far off, but, it's just learning how to make those adjustments, learn how to be a professional, and, he's going to come out of it on the better end. We know it, and we know when he starts to hit his stride, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and it's only going to, help us even more.
Cal, did you make a cameo in his new show? Do you get to make a cameo in the J-Rod show that's coming out on Fox after the All-Star game? Are you like in there dancing or something?
I didn't even know there was a show. He probably doesn't. I don't know if I'm big time enough for him to put me on the show yet.
Wow.
Maybe I can sneak my way in there.
Okay, yeah. After the All-Star game, they're doing a thing called the J-Rod show, and they like followed him around. I don't know. I guess they didn't follow him around that closely if you didn't notice. So that's
maybe I'll make it.
Okay. All right. You got to do something cool to get, hit a walk-off homer or something. That probably would get you on there. Well, wait,
He does that all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's no big deal. All right. So I got a couple off the field or non-Mariner questions I want to ask you about. First of all, I know you guys are in Tampa. Is your room haunted at the hotel?
No. We're at a different. You're talking about the one in St. Pete? What's it called?
Yeah. You guys didn't stay at the Vinoy?
No, we're not at the Vinoy this year. We stayed there 2 years ago, and I heard it was haunted. And we got out of there. So we're actually staying in Tampa right now. We're right next to the Lightning Stadium here. So newer hotel, not haunted, which is good by me. So,
but a long bus ride for you.
Yeah, that bridge. It's why so many.
It's not. Oh, by the way, don't call it a bridge. You'll get yelled at. It's a causeway.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No, I made that mistake one time flying in there. My limo driver, I took the red eye. It was 5 a.m. from Seattle. From doing one of your games, and I'm like, man, there's no traffic on the bridge. He's like, sir, it's a causeway, not a bridge. Don't say that. I'm like, oh my god, 5 a.m. Leave me alone.
I take it personally around here.
Yeah, seriously. All right. So then my next question is: the College World Series won last night. Sorry about your Seminoles. Go Gators. But how excited are you about Link Jarrett and what he's done in year 2? Because they went from first time missing a regional in forever, and then they went into the basically, almost the semifinals.
Yeah, I'm super jacked up. Got to meet him this off season, and I've only heard good things. From him coming in from day one, and we knew he had to kind of figure some things out and tear some things down in order to build it back up. I just didn't know it was gonna be this quick. So it's a credit to him, and it's a credit to how well he did with the recruiting and the turnaround and the transfer portal, and it's a whole new ball game with that now. I mean, going in and adding so many people so quickly and on top of what they already had and building off of that's huge, and makes me proud to be a Seminole. It was fun watching this year, and unfortunately they got screwed in game 1. Kind of changed the whole. I mean, you guys probably saw the check swing, and I mean,
agree.
That changed the whole thing. I mean,
he clearly didn't swing, Kel.
I don't know about that.
I agree with you, Cal. He definitely went.
Cal, when you get your extension, when the Mariners give you your extension this offseason, is there gonna be a Cal Raleigh like hitting facility at Florida State? Is there gonna be like a is that
I would. Yeah, better be a good extension though. So
yeah, exactly.
They do need to upgrade their cages. I agree. So
they just redid the cages, I think.
Oh, did they?
I think they just redid them.
Yeah, I was there. I thought they were the same unless they just redid them recently. So I went back not too long ago, but I don't know. Let's check in on that, I guess.
Yeah, well, you can redo a pitching lab or something.
Yeah, we can get all.
That works.
All the Edgertronic stuff in there.
Yeah,
can you call it
back too? Because that right field is like 200. So that's why you and Minkiewicz and JD Drew and all those guys hit all those homers. Because you guys had like
poke it over the fence.
Yeah, you guys had the 200-foot fence with like, oh, we put chain link on top of it. Oh, now it's 220. Way to go.
Yeah, Cal needs help. Yeah, Cal needs help. Cal's like the second fastest to 50 home runs in Mariners history. I'm sure he needed that 200-foot fence in Florida State.
It only helps, so.
Yeah, as long as it's called like the Big Dumper, cages or the Big Dumper pitching lab. Like you can use your name in there too, but you got to do something that the college kids would like. So I feel like that fits.
Yeah. We'll get it right. No need to put Cal Raleigh, just put Big Dumper on there.
I like it. Always great to have you, dude. Keep doing your thing. Fun to watch the M's right now. Keep lighting it up with that pitching staff too. And we'll talk to you again down the road. All right.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you guys.
You too. Cal Raleigh, Seattle Mariners, with us on FTLive. We're swinging back in a minute. very well placed right after we talked to Big Dumper. This one's for the dudes. We've got a new partner. You know how scary it can get when you're going for a close shave below the belt. I have my trusty helper with me with our goodie bag that we received from Manscaped for those sensitive areas. And the newest package is the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, including the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Wow, we got batteries in that bad boy already? Careful. The 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and then a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Also has the dual LED spotlight. That one helps the little nose hairs.
Oh, the batteries in this one.
Batteries are good to go too. So yeah, if you need some help. Cool. You can also look at the 3-length setting combs, and it is waterproof, which is a big deal as well. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 5.0, the Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. So they've also got the new Buff Bundle. It's all you need to keep the summer heat a little breeze, and the bundle includes their signature silicone scrubber plus body wash. So you can get rid of that gross loofah if you've got one of those and grab a taste of freshness. There's the whole kit for you. I know AJ's got one. Kratz has one. I've got one at home as well. You don't have one yet, AJ?
You took it.
I did steal it. I did.
Yeah, so no, the answer is I don't have one.
Okay, great. Well, maybe
I'm sure they're great. Let me know when I get one. I'll go on there and get my 20% off with code FAL20.
There you go. As much as I love you, I'm not going to give you this second hand. So I'll give you a fresh pack. Okay. So join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer, 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com. And that is the code that AJ said. I know usually we use FAL, but this one includes the % off that you get. So FAL20. It's summertime at Manscaped. Hey, we're back with Hot Corner today, and I know we do show like 2 or 3 times a week. This is just going to be part of Hot Corner because we haven't had any significant beef on the field the last few days, but we do still want to bring out the best of the best in the scorecard department. So this quick scorecard is brought to you by the happy tears of Erik Kratz. Take it away.
I mean, how can you not celebrate a onesie? Like, he got one pitch wrong. He missed, it's unbelievable. Ben May in the Philly-Arizona game, and actually was plus 0.08 for Arizona. They still lost, but this is what will keep robo umpires away. There's a standard. Do they need to be this perfect? No, but there's a standard that Ben May's been up here other times. I've sent out some That's Pro tweets to responding to the ump scorecard, and there's been some Ben Mays on there. And I think, there should be something celebrated about it. Not that he should get a bonus because he's doing his job, but he should definitely get an all-star game if he wants it. He should get playoff points added to his schedule, whatever it is, because he's a younger umpire with less experience.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
World Series implications.
This is how they should
judge it. This is how they should judge it on these kind of things, for sure.
I disagree with Kratz, though, on not needing to be that perfect. Like, why can't we find more Ben Mays? Or is he an outlier? Like, is he a phenom?
Tough. That's tough. That's a great game. Nobody's going 4 for 4 every game.
Yeah,
That's
with
the
like
human
3
element.
extra base
That's the
hits
human
too.
element. Yeah.
I know. I mean, AJ, he literally had one miss, a baseball or so above the plate, and that's it.
I mean, wasn't he one of the ones that did he go 100%? Was it him, or was
I think
it
so.
Hoberg?
Hoberg went 100%, but he gone.
Yeah, he's not going to be up in the World Series this year.
True. Although he's fighting that. He's fighting that.
He is fighting that. I understand. But right now,
Yeah.
as of right now, where he stands. But
Well,
Ben May,
for
listen,
context,
this is
he's
great.
being investigated for a betting thing. We don't have much information yet, but obviously as soon as info comes out, we'll be all over that story. But anyway, go ahead.
No, but Ben May, listen, it's hard to be this good. I mean, if you're over 90%, 92, 93%, that means you did a really great job. And to only miss one, good job. Kudos to you, Ben May.
And he threw out Banny. He threw out Bannister, bench coach for the Diamondbacks. So it was a big day for him. Big day for Ben May.
Was Banny calling him out for balls and strikes? I didn't see that part.
I do not know. I just saw I just saw Jeff Bannister's vein in his neck just exploding. Not a guy I'd want to throw out.
No. But if Banny is calling him out for what he's doing behind the plate, then Banny's got to wear that one and say, "My bad, you're perfect."
I don't think it was balls and strikes, but I'm not 100% sure what it was for.
Okay. Well, everyone should just be showering Ben May with love. We need more Ben Mays in our sport. Let's get to the Phillies triple play against the Tigers. 1-3-5, which is pretty common. You see it about every 95 years. Ready? Boop. Nola to first. Harper to Bohm. Beauty.
What's the runner on third doing? Someone explain what the runner on. He's I'm going to score. What are you doing?
He thought it bounced or something.
Hey,
Joey Cora, the third base coach, got to be like, "Whoa, where are you going?"
I don't think Joey Cora was there that day, or he would have been pointing.
If they would have went to third first, and then back to, I don't know. Isn't there a way that the runner could score if they went?
No, because he's got to tag up.
You got to tag. It was caught in the fly.
If you tag up and then you try like a deep fly ball, the guy tags up and then you get the runner out at first, but the guy tagged up from third and gets home before the ball gets back to first and the guy's out. Yes, then that run counts because it's not a timing play, or it is a timing play.
I've never seen that before. 1-3-5.
Yeah. Well, so the word is first triple play in Major League Baseball. It was the first one this season? I thought there was one other this year.
No, I don't know.
I'm looking at the note. Well, it was the first 1-3-5 since July 11th of 1929, according to Sabres database.
Because usually they go, he catches it, you want to get the lead runner, but he smartly, maybe it was on accident, went to first, and it worked out perfect.
It worked out perfect, right? Because if you go to third, first probably gets back in time.
It looked like he would have.
Yep, exactly.
Not if the runner on third does what he's supposed to do, he should have got back easily once he threw it to first. Said the runner on third's like, watch this. I'm just going to score.
He put on his invisible jacket for sure. He hesitated, and then he's like, he throws it. I'm breaking. See that good? The third base coach just turned around and started walking back.
That was Joey. Joey Cora's like, I'm not going to show him up until I do.
No, he's nuts. That's last thing I do what Joey Cora does when I'm coaching third with the kids. I'm pointing every time the guy's got a ball, like a runner at third. He's got it. Because Joey always points to whoever has the ball in the field.
Did the runner not hear? Well, yeah,
exactly.
But shouldn't you be screaming? Shouldn't you be screaming?
Well, you hear my voice. I try not to talk. I'm like, here, look.
Have you guys ever been part of a triple play? Have you guys ever?
Yeah, a couple of them.
In the bigs?
Yeah, one with the White Sox. It was like a liner to right field. Prince fielder didn't know where to go. We went to first, tagged him out, and then Prince decided to go home. It was like a 9, 3, 5, like all different numbers. And then I turned one, and then there was a couple others. I don't remember.
Oh, so you've been a part of a bunch.
3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys?
I got a couple.
Never in the big leagues.
First one I ever was a part of, Juan Uribe, was on a bunt. We turn it, the guy popped the bunt up, and the guy dives and catches it, and we turn the triple play. Juan Uribe, as shortstop, has the ball, is running off the field, chucks it in the stands. Like an idiot.
Mine was in AAA. Dude bunts, and I run out, catch it like one step, throw to second, and Travis Darno's brother, Chase Darno, was on first, and he had old crazy legs Chase.
Yes.
He just kept running. He just kept running to second. So we got the guy at second for the second out, and then they threw it back to first for the triple play. Triple play started by the catcher.
That a boy.
Love that. All right, we got Ken Rosenthal waiting, our FT Senior Insider. So if you're watching on Bally Sports TV or on the app, we'll be back in a couple minutes. And if you're on YouTube, stay here. Two orders of business to accomplish right now. Let's see if we can do both. First off, the NASCAR announcement continues here. You do not want to miss the epic weekend in Chicago. You can get your tickets now at NASCARchicago.com, but you can also see FT doing a special show on the weekend, either if you're there, or you can watch it, of course, on our YouTube channel that you're looking at right now. But AJ will be there with Kipnis and Alana. I think we're starting to find out some guests too, right? You're going to get at least a couple drivers in there, some baseball fan-related drivers, I'm hearing.
Really?
Yeah. I've got
Great.
some names. I don't think
Isn't there a White Sox driver and an MLB driver? I thought the White Sox sponsored the car at one point. Yeah, they did at one point. I don't know if they still do.
That would be cool. So yeah, we'll have quite a few guests for you guys for that little show we're doing. 11 a.m. Central Time on Sunday, July 7th. It'll be Alana Rizzo. It'll be AJ. It'll be Kip. Again, tickets at NASCARchicago.com. Okay, next up, let's do this quick. We went through the captions yesterday for AJ's contest, but we didn't actually pick a winner. So here is the photo, and I'll give you the three finalists. The photo can either be one of these three options that you liked the best. The bleached hair made you look less shady, more in sync. That's one. My parents always told me never to trust anyone that has 6 consecutive consonants in their last name. That's 2. And lastly, in the 2024 the Campfire Milkshake will be the lone White Sox rep for the All-Star game. Everybody vote really quick right now. Also in the chat, I'll give you 30 seconds to vote.
Slim
Pick
Shady.
quick. What do you want?
The bleacher, made it look less shady, more in sync.
So you both want shady. All right. I'm looking at the chat real quick. So that is done by Luke. Waluigi actually has a really clever name there too.
Waluigi.
Yeah.
Waluigi.
All right. All right. I'll make it a clean sweep here. You win, Luke. Good job. Luke, you'll send us your information, please. And AJ will send you a signed bat. Okay? Congratulations, dude. Good job.
Let's go.
Kenny Ball game to talk a little trade deadline coming up. It's Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider, with us right now. Also, make sure you check out yesterday's Fair Territory. Went over the top 5, or not top 5, but just 5 needs for contenders. So let's start with your fresh notes column, Ken, and Aaron Judge loving his center field time. This was talked about a lot in the offseason, how much center field can Judge take and the delicate balance of him staying on the field. So, what do you think about how it's played out and why he loves that position so much?
It's played out great for the Yankees. And if you look at it, defensively, he has been good enough. I don't know that he's great out there, but he's good. And then offensively, once again, playing center field, just as in 2022, he has been off the charts great. So this is something that a lot of us, including myself, were skeptical of because you increase the injury risk, so it would seem. But they track his steps. They keep a good gauge on where he is physically. And as he said, or as he told me, he really enjoys being out there. He likes the view from out there. He played it in college. He was more than comfortable moving there once they got Soto and Verdugo. So no problem on his end. He has reduced his pregame work a little bit based on, obviously, the increased wear and tear or the possibility of that. And so far, again, so good. I mean, how can you question what's going on with Aaron Judge right now? The guy's been an MVP caliber player since May 1st.
I want to stay on the Yankees just a little bit. We talk about the needs. Bullpen has been a little shaky recently, the last 2.5 weeks. Giancarlo Stanton went down. What do you think is was necessary for the Yankees? What's utmost importance for them to get come trade deadline?
Well, the first base, third base situation, they're going to find out in the next few weeks what they have. Is Ben Rice an answer at first? Is J.D. Davis, who just joined the team today, becoming part of the solution? And once Anthony Rizzo comes back, is that good enough? Will DJ LeMahieu get an extra base hit? He hasn't had one since coming back in late May. So that is one area of concern, and they may need to address it. The other thing, as you mentioned, Todd, is the bullpen. And they had a really good run for about a month and a half there, and it was a little bit deceptive, a little bit smoke and mirrors. They don't strike out a lot compared to other bullpens. They don't strike out other hitters as much, I should say. And they're looking for some swing and miss. Right now, they trust Clay Holmes, but he's not really a swing and miss guy. They trust Luke Weaver. Michael Tonkin has done a really good job for them, but they're kind of searching for answers, seeing what they have internally first, and of course, they'll be looking. The problem when you need bullpen is that every other team is looking for bullpen. So I expect them to keep monitoring what's going on at first and third, see if there are internal answers there, and then, of course, to act on the bullpen.
You wrote a little bit about Gunnar Henderson and how you were asking GMs and managers, okay, who's better? Who's the best? And it was kind of split between Bobby Witt. And one manager came back and said, can I change my vote? What is it about Gunnar Henderson that is going to get your MVP vote at the end of this year?
Well, I'm not committing to that yet, Eric, but certainly he is in the conversation. And he has been on a historic pace here for a shortstop, for a leadoff man. 50 home runs from a shortstop is something that is done exceedingly few times in the game's history, or has been done. So that grabs your attention, but the defense is also really good. Top 5 in both defensive run save and outs above average. The base running is outstanding, 13 for 14 in stolen bases. So the manager you talked about, he is a guy that initially voted for Witt. This was an anonymous poll. I just asked people their opinions. And initially, as you said, it was split. But he texted me over the weekend and said, Gunner's the guy. He's a game changer. Let me change my mind. And, of course, the voting was informal to begin with. It wasn't a big deal. But I thought it was telling that he said that. And then also over the weekend, I was in New York, and during the Yankees-Braves, Brian Snitker raved about Henderson as well. He said he's like another Corey Seager. And as I wrote, the difference between him and Seager, Henderson and Seager, is that Henderson runs so well. Corey Seager has never done that. So right now, he is a player that is way ahead in the All-Star voting and a guy that people are going to want to see in Texas, no doubt.
All right, Ken. Why did Piccolo change his vote from Bobby Witt to Gunnar Henderson?
I don't know, AJ, but by the way, nice hotel room. And is it a Four Seasons? Just curious, because I
don't get the Four Seasons like you can. I get the roadside Days Inn. So thanks.
Right.
They leave the light on.
I'm sure you're the Days Inn.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, when I go to Baltimore next weekend, I'm not at the Four Seasons, so you're not going to be there, so I don't get that privilege.
Okay. Whatever you say,
right.
AJ.
That's true. You asked. I'm being honest. Okay. Now I do have a serious question though. What is going to happen at the trade deadline? Because this is kind of where this is your thing, right? You and the offseason and signings and trades. Who's going to be the most active team? The Blue Jays? Could they be active? The Marlins? I know Luzardo's down, probably not going to be back. The White Sox, the Angels, they lost Sandoval, who could have been a piece. Who's going to be the most active team selling? Because right now it's a seller's market.
If I had to guess right now, June 25th, I would say the Chicago White Sox. They have a lot of pieces that teams need, from Luis Robert Jr. to Garrett Crochet to Eric Fetty to Tommy Pham, right on down the list. Michael Kopech is another one. So they have guys to trade. They are willing to trade. And compared to the Blue Jays, we don't know where the Blue Jays exactly stand yet, and we might not know until the very end. The way they are trending, they, in my opinion, are obvious sellers and not just of potential free agents. They should blow it up and do some big things, try to get back into contention quickly. Don't know that they will do that. That's kind of a conservative operation generally. So the White Sox, for me, are the team that stands out. The Marlins might have been if their pitchers hadn't gotten hurt. But Luzardo, as you mentioned, is on the IL, so is Braxton Garrett. And they're down to basically Trevor Rogers among their starting pitchers, and they're going to need someone to cover innings. Not saying they won't trade him, but that's going to be a problem for them. Tanner Scott, their closer, is a hot guy. I wrote about him a little bit today on our trade deadline watch. He's an interesting guy for sure. He's got big numbers as far as ERA is concerned, but some of the underlying stuff is concerning.
What you wrote about Charlie Morton brought me back to 2009 when he got traded, or 2010, I'm not sure. He got traded to the Pirates. He was like, well, I just don't know. And now we are in 2024, and finally Ken Rosenthal is writing about how Eeyore, as I like to call him, is like, well, I just don't know what kind of pitcher I am. Do you feel like this is something new from Chuck, or do you feel like this is like, this really is the end for Charlie Morton?
I sensed in this conversation that I had with him on Friday more that is coming to the end than in the past. And he's talked about retirement for the past several years. He's 40 years old. He's going to talk about retirement. But he talked about being away from his kids. And I do think, though he didn't quite say this outwardly, he seems frustrated with how it's going. His ERA is in the low fours. He's doing fine. But he talked about not knowing what his identity is right now. His velo's down. It's not what it was a couple of years ago. Still has a great curveball, but there are times he tries to go more slider cutter because he's not confident in the north-south stuff. He wants the east-west stuff. He's going on and on. And that's Charlie, and that's why guys like me really enjoy talking to him, because, as I wrote, he'll offer you a window into his soul. But yes, I do believe he is getting close to the end now. He misses his kids. He's got 4 kids. He wants to see them grow up. He talked about, I didn't quote him on this, but he did talk about how his wife is burdened and he's off running around playing baseball. So he's had an amazing career, one of the great, interesting careers of this generation. The fact that it really all happened for him after 30, but he is, at least at this point, seeing somewhat of a finish line in sight.
Ken, I've got a couple fan questions for you that I'm going to bring in. This one I promised from a while back in the show. I Need Money said, any chance that the Padres trade Ha-Seong Kim? Trading Kim would open a spot to keep Solano's bat in the order and a move back to shortstop for Xander Bogaerts, obviously when he returns, and that the Padres need bullpen help. He was throwing Cleveland out there as a potential match. I know Cleveland is not desperately, but definitely in need of maybe some shortstop help and bats in general. But wanted to get your thoughts, on the state of where the Padres are at, especially coming off this Tatis injury now, and that Darvish probably is going to be set back for a bit.
It's a really good question because AJ Preller, as we know, is one of the most active GMs at all times. He is remarkably unfazed no matter what the situation is. And frankly, I don't know that these latest injuries are going to change his thinking at all. He has been, from what I understand, the most aggressive GM in the early trade talks. And, of course, he picked up Dylan Cease right before the season started. He's a guy that seemingly wants to do more. And he sees this team as a potential playoff team, even though they're in that massive mediocrity in the NL wildcard race as far as their performance. What's interesting about him right now, AJ Preller, is that other executives around the sport are wondering whether this is kind of a desperate last act on his part, trying to save his job. Now, I don't know that AJ Preller would act any differently trying to save his job than he would normally. He's aggressive. That's just who he is. But it's going to be really interesting to see how they go about this. I do not see them trading Kim. I understand the question, and they've talked about that in the past. But they like him, and he's a big part of what they do. and they can probably get the bullpen pieces that they want in other ways.
All right, Ken, you're talking about Preller. What's the financial situation of the Padres? How does it limit them, right? Because they're kind of in trust right now with Peter Seidler passing away. So they're kind of stuck, right? They're very limited financially, and they obviously have some big contracts. And without knowing what's happening, I mean, Preller was, Peter Seidler's guy. So with him passing away, how does that affect his job status? And then also the restrictions now, because they don't even really know who the owner is. It's kind of in a state of flux right now. Would I be wrong in saying that?
Yeah, their ownership is still the Seidler family, and there are other people involved now. That is not a question. The finances, that is a question, AJ, and a very good question. And it seems to me they did most of their payroll cutting in the offseason. And obviously, when you make a trade at the deadline, you're only getting a player for 1/3 of his 2024 salary, approximately that. So it isn't oppressive for most teams, even teams that are seemingly restricted. I don't expect that to be a problem for him. He's not going after any $40 million players. A Garrett Crochet is a relatively small cost in terms of salary. So that is not a factor, or not as much of a factor as maybe it would have been in the offseason when they were clearly trying to cut payroll and clearly responding to being a little bit overextended, to say the least. I don't know where this is going with him and this current group that is running the team. And that's one of the questions hovering over the Padres right now. Is this it for him, or can he somehow convince this group that, hey, I'm still the guy, I should be the guy going forward?
Now let's switch gears back to the East Coast, talk about the Boston Red Sox a little bit. They've been playing well. They've been playing really well. We had Jarren Duran on. He's been an absolute stud, all-star caliber player. They've been doing awesome. Does this change the narrative them to buyers during this trade deadline coming up soon?
It's one of the best questions, Todd. And from last offseason, starting then, they have been a team that seemingly does not want to try, right? We're kind of just playing for the future, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Your team's actually better than you thought it was going to be. It's better than you deserve it to be. And I'm talking about their ownership right now. So at this stage, as well as they're playing and as interesting as they are, I would expect that they will buy and that they will maybe do two things at once. They can trade some of their potential free agents perhaps and bring in other players. That's not out of the question for them. But my goodness, when you play like this and you've got Alex Cora in the last year of his contract, you're obligated, in my opinion, to make an effort here. The thing is, they haven't shown that they've wanted to make an effort, ownership that is, again, since last offseason. So they're a team to watch, in my opinion, because if they don't honor what their players and their manager and coaching staff have done here, and I'm talking again, they is ownership. If they don't do that, well, then shame on them.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, you got to ride this out. You got to give fans something to go to the ballpark for, All right. So here's one more for you. We'll finish with this. The Texas Rangers. We have a question from KT here in the chat. Said, can you ask Ken about if they're buying or selling? Buying bullpen help, selling Tavares, Duran, who I know just got back into it, so may not know a lot about that until we get closer. I mean, I'll start here and then toss it to you, Ken. With the way the Rangers played this weekend and how much season we have left to go and how much they're still going to get back, how can they be anything but buyers? Even some of the guys they have, right, that are still in their prime right now. I mean, they'd really have to fall apart to not be buyers. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And in fact, with Scherzer coming back, the expectation that Tyler Mahle and perhaps DeGrom will be back as well. This is a team that in their minds could get better. And don't forget Josh Young. He's been out. Once they get him back, they believe their offense will tick up even more than it has been of late. So they're absolutely trying to get back into the playoffs and see what they can do. Chris Young, their general manager, is one of the more competitive guys doing this, and they're all competitive. So there's no reason to sell. Now, you could perhaps, as I said with Boston, pair off certain pieces while you're bringing other pieces in. And I'll say this again, I've said it before, this buy-sell thinking is sometimes too limited in terms of what fans expect. We're buyers, we're sellers. No, you can all do all these things at once. It's not a binary equation. So it's possible that, yes, they pair off some pieces. Duran could be one, yes. But At the same time, I don't expect them to do anything that's going to put them in a less competitive position. They want to compete. They want to make the playoffs, want to defend their title, and that's their intention.
The word I've heard from a couple GM interviews lately is baseball trades. You might have some baseball trades. That means, taking strength from one team and helping another team, not just, the dump of one big player for prospects, which is great. I love those types of trades.
And Scott, in this situation, and I'm assuming it's going to be somewhat similar in a month, I do expect some teams will fall out and it won't be quite as undefined as it is right now. But in this situation, you're not going to see GMs simply throw up their hands and say, we can't improve our team. No, they're going to try to be creative. They're going to try to address one need of theirs and help another team fill their need. And it's perhaps with major league pieces. That baseball trade that you mentioned, major leaguer for major leaguer, not out of the question. There are teams that have depth in certain areas, but not in others. And they can address that by making those types of deals. So people ask all the time, oh man, it's going to be a quiet deadline because of this mass of teams that are assembled and they don't know where they are. No, I don't expect it to be a quiet deadline. It might not be as electric as some in the past. I don't know that we're going to have the same quality of star traded, but I'm not going to rule it out either because the 30 GMs, they're creative and they're always restless and they always want to get better. And the deadline is the one time they have during the season when they can get better.
Yep, I hope that's the case. Ken, thanks for the time as always, and we will see you later this week on this show and on Fair Territory.
Thanks, Scott.
Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider and star of Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. Mondays and Thursdays. Yesterday's episode is out there on the FT YouTube channel and on the pod, and also Thursdays live with Alana Rizzo. Be right back.
So if you're the Blue Jays, in my opinion, you at least have to look at trading a starter beyond Yusei Kikuchi. If you do that, and you're the general manager Ross Atkins, and you're the team president Mark Shapiro, then you're basically admitting that you failed. And Atkins and Shapiro are nearing the ends of their contracts. They're not going to want to admit that they failed. It's a really interesting scenario all around. I don't know which way they're going to go. My guess is they're conservative. They just trade their free agents. That's kind of how they roll. But man, they need to look at a bigger kind of deadline, one in which they sell dramatically and one in which they kind of start over and rebuild around some of these younger players. And keep in mind, Bichette and Guerrero, they're free agents after next season. You're going to have to make a decision on them at some point as well. My feeling is this game is about stars. It's about entertainment. It's not always about the most meritorious picks, because if it was, we wouldn't always get the best choices. And when you have a rule that says every team must be represented, we're away from that already. So, yeah, I want to see the stars. Royce Lewis has a couple of more weeks here. If he keeps doing this, he's got to be in the game. Paul Skeens has to be in the game. And Jason made the point, well, if you do this, if you put guys like this in, then some other deserving players are going to get left out. But as I said then, my goodness, we end up with about 80 All-Stars every year once the guys start falling by the wayside, whether it's injury, whether they back out, one thing or another. Everyone gets a participation trophy, it seems. David Ortiz was a top 5 finisher 5 straight years from 2003 to 2007. We've seen other DHs finish in the top 5. Frank Thomas, Victor Martinez, I believe, did one year. And most recently, Yordan Alvarez finished 3rd just a couple of years ago. But it's going to be a big reach for voters to vote a DH MVP. It's just not likely in this age of wins above replacement when we look at offense and defense and base running, the overall player, more carefully than we once did. Ohtani, once again, is going to test the boundaries. And if anyone can do this, it's him.
Hey, a little standing O. We're back on FT with Braun, Todd, Father, Kratz, and Pierzynski. AJ, I think you're our top dog here for the NCAA baseball world. So let's give some love to the Tennessee Volunteers for winning it all this year in college baseball. We'll talk a lot more about this on Hot Sheet right after FT. If you're on the YouTube channel, we'll flip over to Baseball America's page. But what do you got for us on Tennessee this year?
Well, they were the best team. They were the number one seed going into it. They had an unbelievable year in the SEC, which is by far the best league in the country. They went out and won it. Tony Vitello, if you haven't seen him and what his act was after the game, was unbelievable. He jumped in the stands. It was literally crowd surfing in the stands. It was incredible. Tennessee deserved it. Listen, as a Gator fan, but someone that signed with Tennessee out of high school, I guess there's a little bit of me that's proud, but probably not really. Just think also, if that check swing doesn't get called the way it does, are they there? That's another question. Cal Raleigh brought it up. If that check swing is switched, is it Florida State maybe in the finals or someone else? But that check swing was called no swing. The guy gets the hit. They win the game. They went on to win the national championship. So kudos to Tennessee.
But I learned on this show that you can't just blame one check swing on your entire game or season or any of that, right? You guys,
I'm not a Florida State fan. I said he didn't swing. Make a better pitch the next one. That's Florida State that has that problem.
Score more runs earlier, all of that. But yeah,
I mean, it was 11-8 going to the ninth. You think you could figure it out?
Very true. Very true. Well, congrats to them for the dub. The other thing I was just thinking about was the fanfare. It wasn't the same this year, and I think it's pretty obvious. We just didn't have the star power. And we can go over a lot of different details. I know we were talking about this, us four this morning, but last year you've got Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, star-studded team, right? And they take everyone down. They actually weren't the number one overall seed last year. That's what made this Tennessee team special, because the number one overall seed never wins the whole thing until now. I mean, it hadn't happened at least in the 2000s, so it had been a long time. So props to Tennessee. But last year we had guys that we were about to see get drafted. And, we've already seen some of those guys up in the bigs, including, of course, Skeens leading the way.
Listen, I know exactly what you're talking about, but there was other things going on, the hockey, the NBA.
People care? I mean, it's a different audience.
I don't. I was more intrigued with the College World Series this year than I've ever been.
Really?
And I don't know why. I don't know what it was. It was just when those games were on early in the day, I had nothing to do. I was watching them. I was glued on it. I like watching the teams. I didn't know anybody on any of the teams, but it was just all right, I could like this guy, or this guy throwing 95 plus with some nasty sink. And it was fun. I thought it was a really well played out College World Series. And, I did think Tennessee was the best team. I thought Texas A&M with their pitching alone, I know they had a couple injuries going into the last couple games, so that probably hurt them as well. So I thought Tennessee was the best team and did deserve to win it all.
All right, well, here's my question. There was no star power. Did you guys see who was there to watch Tennessee last night? Peyton Manning, Morgan Wallen, Ricky Barnes, the basketball coach. I mean, there was some star power there now. So just because the players on the field, if you don't follow college baseball closely enough, then you didn't really know these players. Did you guys see Jeff Kent when his kid got picked off the other day and he's running off the field and he's like
tapping his hat? Oh,
I mean, there was star power there, just not maybe people that because Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens were so hyped, and Florida had Langford and Caglione last year in the finals. But this was a great World SEC tournament. I mean, sorry, College World Series.
It's that you know what? Whoever ends up in the finals, you're right. NIL. The SEC. These are the best championships that can be bought.
Hey, listen, the SEC went 5-0 against the ACC. I mean, it was 4 SEC, 4 ACC. Everyone's like, oh, it's going to be the ACC versus the SEC. It wasn't even a competition. So don't anyone ever say that the SEC is by far not the best conference in baseball, because they proved it again. Last year, 2 SEC teams in the finals. This year, 2 SEC teams in the finals.
And they hit better than the National League has hit against Paul Skeens. So there's that too.
Also true.
Yeah, you guys were glitching for a sec. I heard NIL, then SEC, all these different acronyms being thrown out there. It's good. But anyway, yes, there was star power there, but they don't play. But yes, there were big names showing up. They've got a big alum list. Tennessee does, so good for them. But anyway, I just thought last year like really kind of swept the nation with the star power that they had. I also don't like the draft during the All-Star break, but that's a whole nother world. I just think it gets buried, but that's me. I know, MLB likes to bundle everything together. It's stupid. But anyway, we will talk about that at some point.
No, you guys know though, if you think about it, like I always watch College World Series. I love baseball in any form, so I watch college baseball. But back in the day, I mean, the draft was before the College World Series. So you would have Paul Skeens, the number 1 pick, throwing against the number 4 pick, Wyatt Langford, with the number, what was Dylan Cruz, number 2 pick playing center field, right? And then you have potentially Jack Caglione, the top 10 pick for next year. And you had Hurston Waldrop, and you had all these other first rounders pitching against each other. You had Rhett Lauer from Wake Forest, right? He was top, 10 pick last year by the Reds. I mean, these guys would have all been pitching each other, and everyone was like, oh, wow, look at all the top 10 picks playing in these final 4 games. And this year it's like, oh, we got to wait and see who gets drafted where. Like, I thought it brought more excitement because teams, MLB fans would tune in and say, oh, this is the guy we drafted. I want to watch him play against the best. And boom, there he is.
Agreed. Totally on the same page there. I hope this is not permanent. All right, we'll come right back with our locks. We'll slap hands, and we'll get ready for some of you to watch Baseball America's Hot Sheet show, which includes a player who just was at the Combine. Be right back.
I got to ask you about the throwing thing. I played against, but I played against Knobloch, all right, and when they moved him to left field after he had kind of the same thing. First of all, how did you get over it? Maybe I should start with where did it start, and then how did you get over it? Because I've seen guys not be able to get over it. Rick Ankiel, right? He got. I guess we can use the yips. He got the yips, couldn't throw a strike. How'd you get over it?
Well, it's a long story, AJ, and I'll kind of get this tight. Is that the last conversation I ever had with my dad, the night before he died? If you knew what my dad was like, he wasn't "I love you and I'm sorry." He was a doer, not a talker. And he told me that he went through the same thing when he was a ball player. My dad was a really good baseball player. And this is how you get over this issue. You don't have a mental block. He said you have a temporary loss of confidence. And once the confidence comes back, this thing will dissipate. And so I started working on it in practice, just like he had told me. And I started getting my confidence back in practice. I actually switched him. I took on practice as a game. And so when game time came along, it was like, hey, I've already been through this. I was relaxing. And then when I got through that thing, I went on and I led the league in fielding in my position when I went to the American League. And I was in the top 5 fielding from then on in all second basemen. So it was about conversations with my dad that helped me get over this. And then oddly enough, after my dad died, about 3 years later, I was talking to my mom about this conversation with my dad. And my mom and dad have been together since the 5th grade. And my mom told me, she said, your dad never had a throwing problem in his life. He just said that because he knew how much I revered his strength and his wisdom. And if he could go through it, then it's not so bad that I'm going through it. And that's how I got my confidence back, by somebody that was selfless enough, like my dad, to tell me this when he never went through a throwing problem, but it helped me get over it. And thankfully, I was one of the very few guys that went through this thing that got over it. Because as you said, AJ, a lot of guys don't get over this issue.
Leo, you guys should see how excited Todd gets when this segment starts, because when you're good, you're good. When you're feeling good, it's nice. It's a nice feeling getting that little dub. Yeah, exactly.
On the All-Star game.
Todd's going to the All-Star game.
He is right now.
Am I?
I mean, you might have to just so you can tell everyone who's going to win. First off, the free game of the day. If you're looking for free ball to watch in the app, the BetMGM app, live stream available to all customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. The game for you tonight is Oakland. Again, I like how we put Oakland against the Angels. So I will give you a couple positives if you're like, why am I watching two teams that aren't playoff teams? No, one, you can bet on the game. And two, it's Mitch Tarjay Spence, who's been a nice story for Oakland, against Tyler Anderson, who's probably going to get traded if the Angels are smart. He has actually had a fantastic year. He's got about a 2.5 ERA. Big bounce back from last year. 2 years ago, he was great. He's found it again. The Angels should definitely sell high. So looking at yesterday's locks, AJ, what? You didn't get enough crochet Ks, did you?
No, he ended up with 6. They took him out with 90 pitches. Leave him in the game. Leave him in. He was rolling. And they took him out like in the 6th inning. I'm like, let him roll. What are we doing? Get him up to 100. They will not let him get to 100 pitches.
They're protecting their asset that they'll trade at the deadline. The rest of us,
Awful.
bulldozed our way.
The bullpen's going to blow and give up runs. Why wait?
I don't know if it's about wins and losses this year for that ball club, but it worked out for me because I got a dub from the Dodgers. And good call, Kratz, on Peralta too. That was good. And guess what? If you were bold and went 1K over, which I tailed and also, went 1 strikeout over because it was plus money on Freddie Peralta's Ks, you didn't get it. So just use your hook wisely sometimes.
Okay.
All right. Locks of the day. Let's go with Todd Father since he won yesterday and he's got the most money.
I'm going with another under today. Really good pitching matchup, as Kratz talked about. Detroit, Philly, under. Screwball. Probably said that wrong.
No, you got it. Screwball.
All right, good. And
Scooby-Doo.
Ranger Suarez going under 7.5, minus 115. I'm going 230 to win 200. Feel like that's going to be a 3-1, 2-0 game.
Okay. Kratz, do you like it? And what do you have?
I don't like the rolling his R on Suarez because it's not 2 R's. I do like that. I was really looking at the first 5 in that game too, but I like that under. I like that under a lot. I'm gonna go run line with the Dodgers minus 1.5, parlayed with Seth Lugo leading the way for the Royals. They got their win last night. I think they're gonna start rolling a little bit here with Chirinos on the mound. Oh, Yanni Chirinos for the Marlins. So I feel like the Royals are going to come out on top. Money line Royals, run line for the Dodgers. Plus 165.
Plus 161. But close.
One?
No?
161.
161. I wanted those extra $4.
Okay. Well, you don't get it. You get a high 5. But the Marlins also could use 4 extra starters. They're hurting. AJ?
I'm going to we talked to Cal Raleigh. I'm going to Tampa, where he is playing with his Mariners, and it is Zach Littell versus Luis Castillo. And I'm taking both of them to go over. Both these teams strike out a ton. And Littell 5.5 and Castillo 6.5. That gets me to plus 270. So I'm throwing 100 down to win 270 just because I'm counting on these teams to strike out a lot because they're both in the top 5 as teams of striking out a lot.
There you go. And I'll go minus 115 to 100 with Texas and Milwaukee. Just going with the over today. I need 10 runs technically. Brewers, solid offense, top 5 in runs scored. The Rangers have been coming on stronger lately. Their bats are looking better. Bryce Wilson has not looked good. He's given up a lot of homers. And with Heaney, he's pitched actually pretty well. Underlying metrics, not great. Both guys pointing to giving up hard contact. They've done that a lot. So I think it all comes together, and we could have a high-scoring affair between those two. First bet offer for you if you're new to BetMGM is FOUL, F-O-U-L. Download the app or visit BetMGM.com and deposit at least $10 into your new account. And then you place your first wager, and you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that does happen, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Okay, we need futures bets from everyone. Who's got one? Raise your hand if you're ready to go. Kratz did it first. You go first, Kratz. Give us a futures bet.
I'm going to go futures bet combo. Yankees are playing the Phillies in the World Series, just like I picked at the beginning of the season, plus 1,050.
I would love that. We can go to every game. Kratz, that'd be great.
We'll be there.
Nice. AJ,
Good.
what are you going with?
I don't know what the odds are, but I'm going Dodgers to win the division.
No, you can't do that.
What do you mean, no? Why can't I?
I mean, well, sure, you can do that, but that's just like it's not plus money.
If I put
That
I
was
don't
the
know if
rule.
it's going to
It
be
has
plus
to be
money.
a plus money pick. Yeah,
Oh,
that was the rule.
okay.
That's what I said in
I
the meeting.
Okay, then I'm going with
Because it ain't plus money. I'll get to it right now for you, but it ain't plus money. I promise.
It's going to
you
be
that.
minus something.
It's minus 3,000. So if you'd
If I
like
put
to
down 3,000, I'll make 3,100. Boom, I'm up.
boom, yeah. Well, you'll win 100.
You'll win 100, yeah.
All right, Todd, what do you have?
I'm going this is for you, Kratz. I'm picking the Phillies to be the NL outright winner at plus 275.
Nice. Okay, I like it. Let's slap. Kratz hats. You got a white hat today with some pinstripes?
Milwaukee home throwbacks. That year that I was there, we wore the gray throwbacks, and these were the white throwbacks.
Nice. Okay. And lastly, let's look at our Teaser pucks that we've got out there for the world to go grab at teaserenergy.com. You can use the discount code FOUL, FOUL, for 20% off your first order. And thank you to Teaser who are actually helping us line up a big interview that we've got coming up on our show on the BA YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can just stay there and you'll be able to watch Hot Sheet. So stay tuned for that one. But there are the pucks, and we will see you on Wednesday.
We back, baby.
Hey, we back. All right, so let's finish strong here. Todd Father's going to be on with us for Hot Sheet coming up in just a moment. And thanks to everyone for sending in questions. Today, too, is our second day on Valley Sports TV and on the app there as well. What do you guys have, AJ and Kratz? What's the game situation down there? You guys looking for future first rounders down there?
Night game. I got a night game tonight, so I got about 4 more hours till the game.
There you go. Kratz, you too?
Twilight game, 6 o'clock game. Saw some legit players down here. I don't know. I mean, you hear everybody's like, this team, they're kind of okay. They're like, some of these kids, I'm so amazed. Like, they're grown men. Whether or not they're like big league players today, no. But they're grown men. I'm like, how do you look like that? How do you look like that at 17 years old? And granted, the good teams, most of them are a year older. They've reclassed, so there's some discrepancy there. But man, oh man, some monsters.
The best way to do it is you get your birth certificate and you just, you get some really nice pen and you just switch the numbers. That's the best way to do it, okay? I'm kidding. But anyway, both of them are watching some of the top high school players in the country. AJ will be back in studio. AJ on Monday, Tuesday. Kratz, no, you're.
I should be back. I should be back Friday.
Friday, okay, and I'll be back with Todd Father on Friday. So that's the schedule. Lastly, we can show the Hot Sheet promo if you haven't caught the show on Baseball America's YouTube channel. You know how it works for this YouTube crowd. You don't have to move. We'll just flip you right over to that channel. We'll talk about Tennessee winning. We'll talk about top draft prospects. We also will talk to a top prospect in the draft about what the combine experience was like. We hit on the combine a little bit, and we'll go over that with him. So stay tuned on that front on the BA YouTube channel, and we will see everyone else on Wednesday on FT. Enjoy the games, guys. Don't get booted from the stands, okay? Don't bark too much at the umpires.
We had a fight yesterday in our stands, though.
No way.
Come on.
Physical fight?
We had shoving.
Happens all the time.
Parents.
Nuts.
Parents. You cray. All right, AJ, good luck on your lock. Hope the Dodgers win the division.
Thank you. I'm gonna win money.